Good evening, everyone, and welcome to day 2 of our Getting Started with Salesforce Sales Cloud. Tonight, we're going to continue with understanding the basics as well as going into the main org, okay? So tonight, we're going to continue with lead and opportunity management. Basically, everything you're probably going to learn would be one or two things you've learned in your previous sessions of the Salesforce Admin and Service Cloud. However, there are new materials in terms of what the expectations are for the Sales Cloud. So if we are to go into the Salesforce Sales Cloud certification, you will see the expectation for the lead and opportunity management. So what are the expectations according to Salesforce? According to Salesforce, we are expected to know or explain how campaign capabilities support the sales process. So what are the features of campaign that would enable us make more sales pretty much? Given a scenario, recommend appropriate methods for lead scoring and criteria for lead qualification. So how would you approach or how would you score a lead, and how can you create criteria that can be used for the lead qualification? And lastly, discuss the best practices for managing lead data quality in Salesforce. In addition to what we're going to be learning tonight is opportunity management and what are the expectations from Salesforce. Given a set of requirements, determine how to support different sales process scenarios for an opportunity. So pretty much how would you support different sales process? Again, it's similar to what you already know, but maybe we can do something more advanced tonight. In addition to that, summarize the relationship between the sales stages, forecast, and pipeline inspection. Okay, so without wasting much time, everything I read to you just right now is written here. And in addition to that, you can see that it contributes towards 17% of your Salesforce Sales Cloud certification. So in terms of bullets numbering, how or what are the expectations? What will you be learning tonight? You'll be learning Salesforce data model, account, contact, opportunities, activities. What are they and how are they related? You understand the web to lead, map lead fields, auto assignment rules and auto response rules in lead, duplicate and matching rules on lead queues, lead scoring, Salesforce mobile. And you go to opportunities where you learn about how to bring the opportunity contact roles, stages, probability, what they can do. In addition to that, you learn about opportunity teams, default opportunity teams, team roles, and the likes. And obviously, more importantly, you're going to learn the campaigns, the campaign influence, and how to create one. Okay, without wasting much time, this is going to be hands-on session because it's much practical than theoretical explanation. So I'm just going to go into my Salesforce org right now, and I will show you one or two things. Okay, starting with the leads. So let's go into the hands-on orgs, and I'm just going to create I don't know if I have any. Let's use any of this org. And now I'm just going to go to my Salesforce org. So what are the expectations when you are talking about leads? What are leads? Let's start with the fundamentals. Leads, what are leads to you when you are working in Salesforce? Leads are just prospects, people that you would like to reach out to, people that haven't become, or you want them to become a customer, but they are yet to decide if they want to become a customer or not. Okay, so leads are prospects. And you would have noticed when it comes to Salesforce, you're either getting data through new data into the Salesforce through your lead, or you're getting data into Salesforce through an existing customer creating cases. So two key things you need to know when it comes to getting data from a customer, from someone external coming into Salesforce, is the lead object and is the case object. The case object, which you guys are already familiar with, is the web to case. Web to case enables you to communicate with your customer externally, okay? You don't necessarily have to have your customer having a Salesforce license before they can create records in the system. Similarly, with lead, you have what they call the web to lead. The web to lead ensures that you can communicate, you can get data. Okay, so for you to work with lead, everything you know about case, if you look at case, for instance, you have the case assignment rule, case auto response rule, and the likes. For lead, you have something similar: lead assignment rules, lead auto response rule, lead processes, lead settings, and the likes. Okay, so now how do you get started with leads? The first thing, obviously, you want to do is you want to create a web to lead. What is a web to lead? You already know what a web to lead is. A web to lead is a web form which you have to create in order to get lead data into the system. And for you to create a web to lead, first, you need to enable the web to lead and make sure that the web to lead is enabled in the system. Okay. After you enable the web to lead, you can also have what they call like recapture. Recapture, again, is a way, okay, is a way to verify that no spam bots or no auto-created user can enter data into your Salesforce sub. This is very important if you want to make sure that you have clean data entering the system. In addition to that, you have what they call the auto response rule. Remember, auto response rules are what happens when you or when your customer, someone that has no relationship with your business, creates or submits a form. So it's something that happens immediately. It's not something you program. It's something that happens immediately. And with web to lead, you can create a template that can be used for your lead auto response rule. Okay, so now that you've seen the basic stuff, but where would you consider lead to be in the whole architecture of Salesforce? For me to explain that, I need to show you the schema. The Salesforce schema for lead or for data model is how you can represent, how you can relate, how you can visually relate. Okay, so let's say you are a consultant working in a business and they ask you, how can I visualize the relationship between my objects? You want to go to the schema builder and show them how things are related. So the schema builder helps you to visualize how things are related. So I'm just going to open the lead, okay? And I'm going to open the account. I'm going to open the contacts. And I'm going to open opportunities. Again, as you can see, it's a case of visualizing what or how things are related in Salesforce. One thing you understand or one thing you realize is that this stuff are related. However, lead is secluded in a way. It's like isolated, right? Because for you to get contacts, accounts, and opportunity, you have to convert this lead. When you convert this lead, you have a contact, account, and opportunity. However, you don't have a relationship between the lead and this object. So lead is pretty much like something that is not like does not exist in the system. However, once you contact, then you can do business with a lead. Okay, so now this is the data model from Salesforce. There's also what they call the activities. Activities are tasks and events. But you wouldn't, I'm looking for activities. Events. And there is task. Okay, there's also task. So these are also things that can be related to a particular lead, okay? But you don't get to see it like that. However, you can track activities of a lead. You can also track, by activities, I mean events and tasks, okay? As you can see, the lead is related to events and tasks, meaning that if I am contacting this lead or I'm creating a log for this lead, like I'm sending a call log, create a new task, create a new event, campaign, and all this kind of stuff, I can track those activities on the lead. Even though they are not related to account, contact, and opportunity, they are still related to the lead based on events and tasks. Okay. So when you're trying to understand the architecture, the data model of a lead, you need to put this into consideration, because this is what helps you to build a report. They can, when I was talking about sales metrics, KPIs, and the likes, how can you build a report on a lead? These are the things you want to use to build that report. Number of times you reach out to a lead, number of tasks created for a lead, okay? Based on this relationship, you can build a report, okay? So now, I wouldn't want to create a web to lead for you to see how the web to lead work, but you will create a web to lead by going to the web to lead in the quick find menu, okay? You can type in web to lead here, you can just type in lead, and all other things will come up. To create the web to lead, all you just need to do is create web to lead form. And you can bring in all those things that you want to collect. Now, cases are, you might have a different business model. Like some of you guys working in the Black Force work experience, I've asked you to create some fields that are currently not default to the lead object. All you just need to do is create those fields and they will automatically pop up here. Once they pop up, you collect those fields and you create your web to lead, which is similar to your web to case, okay? Everything I'm teaching here right now, you already know, probably if you attended my service cloud, which is expectation, and you create or you generate web to lead. But if you don't want this recapture, if you want recapture, if you don't want this recapture, you would have disabled that recapture. So if I go back to the web to lead, I could have disabled this recapture so it wouldn't be a mandatory field for me here. So if I refresh this, the recapture would have gone, okay? So I can disable recapture and I wouldn't be able to have it, okay? So once I have those forms, fields, I can decide to say, after submission of this form, I want it to go back to the Black Force website, okay? Now, you click on generate. But then again, let's imagine a case whereby the lead fields which I'm interested in is not available within the lead object. Obviously, you want to create that lead in the lead objects, okay? You want to create that lead in the lead objects and you will be able to collect that data. So now let's take a pause and find out what happens when you get a lead in the system. The first thing when you get a lead in the system is you will be able to, let's imagine we created a web to lead form and we got this new lead in the system, okay? You will realize that for you to create a lead, 3 things are important: the lead status, the company, and the last name, okay? If you have a Salesforce license, you would have the opportunity to create, or you have the opportunity to enable what I refer to as a person account. A person account is similar to your normal account. However, your person account is mostly for B2C, like you're directly relating to a customer. Unlike an account whereby, unlike the normal default account whereby you're relating to a business. So for you to convert this lead right now, you would need to provide a company, okay? But if your person account is enabled, you wouldn't need to provide a company name. So remember, it's only when your person account is not enabled, then this company would be required. If the person account is enabled, then this company can be left blank. If this company is left blank on conversion, you will realize that if this company is left blank, then you realize that this lead is, when the lead is converted, it becomes a person account. Okay, you create your account, you create your contact. However, if you left this company blank in a person account enabled org, then this would be converted into a person account and not your normal account. But for the sake of this illustration, since we don't have a person account enabled, I'm just going to say a sample company is associated to this lead. Okay, now I click save. This is the lead. And this is the whole excitement about a lead. So now, what do you need to know? When you create a lead, there is what they call the stages. These stages is what they call the lead process for that business. And the lead process for that business is subjective to what the business, or the lead process for that business is subjective to how the business is designed. For instance, if you go back to the back end, you have what they call the lead processes. The lead processes is subjective to, or is based on how the business would like to process a new lead. So the lead you see here, the lead process you see here is by default what the Salesforce recommend. However, you don't necessarily have to have an open not contacted lead, working contacted, close not contacted, and converted. You don't necessarily have to have that. However, by default, this is what you get from Salesforce. So if you want to amend this, then you need to go and create your own lead process and make sure that you can relate a new lead based on the process you've created. Okay? For you to create a lead process, you need to have what I call the record type. The lead record type and the process works hand in hand, in the sense that without the lead record type, you cannot create a lead process. Okay, so if you create a lead process, for instance, you need to associate it to the record type before you can start differentiating the types of leads that come into the system. Now, what happens when a lead comes into the system? You want to nurture that lead. You want to send a campaign to that lead. You want to do stuff with that lead. Okay? For you to do stuff, for you to carry out that action, you need to probably send out what they call campaigns. As you can see, the lead are somewhat, the campaigns are somewhat dependent on the leads. For instance, you can send a campaign to a contact, which is fine, but predominantly you can also send campaigns to leads. And that's how you can build upon this process. So how do you nurture a lead? How do you convert a lead? You convert a lead by sending out series of campaigns. And that's why Salesforce specifically wants us to understand how campaign capabilities support the sales process. This is a sales process. Everything I've said to you about leads are important. However, when it comes to your sales cloud, it's about the sales process. And how do you associate a lead with the campaign? First of all, obviously, you need to have a campaign. A campaign is like you sending out a marketing emails. You're sending out marketing communication, information that would encourage the lead you have just created. The lead will not convert itself. It has to go through a process. And this is what Salesforce refers to as the sales process. And as you can see, this is on marketing tab. Okay, so you need to understand, like, I want you to have an hand-to-hand visual understanding of the Salesforce platform and why these platforms or why these features exist in Salesforce. So now we go to campaigns. You create a simple campaign because you want to attract that lead, right? You want to convert that lead. You create a simple campaign. Let's say new cohorts campaign, okay? So now, once you create this campaign, you activate, you make it active, And you can determine the type of campaign, but obviously based on your business, you can just select the type of campaign it is. However, you can also create some other types if they are not present here. In addition to that, you can determine the current status of it. For instance, you can just say it's in progress and the start date starts today and maybe sometimes on Friday. Then these are important fields in the campaign record. Why are they important? It comes back to what Salesforce expects us to know. Campaign influence on the sales process. How do you set up the campaign influence on the sales process? It comes with the things you are entering here. So expected revenue from the campaign, budget of this campaign, actual cost of the campaign. This stuff, obviously, you can update later, but maybe expected revenue, you don't have to update later because whatever you're putting here right now would ultimately affect how you analyze the ROI, the return on investment of your campaign, okay? So please, obviously, sometimes as an admin or as a consultant, you might not necessarily be entering this. You just need to maybe inform your clients about this stuff, okay? But then again, you have to put all these numbers here. And if there's a parent campaign, you can select it. Now, why am I creating this? I'm creating this because before you can, no, I wouldn't say before you can convert a lead. You can convert a lead without a campaign. However, there needs to be a justification for converting a lead. A lead needs to have gone through a process, and that's what they call the sales process. We've created this lead, which is new lead. Let me edit it so I can easily identify the lead. Sample, okay? Now I'll go back to my campaign and I'm going to add that lead to my campaign. This add would ensure that you can add the lead to your campaign. Remember, you can only add leads, contacts, and a person account to your campaign. Why is it that you can only add a lead, contact, and a person account and not just account? An account is just, an account is an entity, a group of people. An account is just an entity. And contact in an account is the group of people working in that entity, okay? So you can, if you add an account to a campaign, it's going to add all the contacts in that account to the campaign. So you're not necessarily adding an account as such, you're adding people, like person, to the campaign, okay? In order to add an account to the campaign, you go to, let's quickly enable the add account. You go to your quick find and you type in account, I think. And you have, sorry. Okay, so you had the account and by default, the account should come up here, okay? So if you don't see the account initially, that's the way to add the account to the campaign, okay? Then you just say select Black Force and next, and you can select the status of that, the member's status, okay? So this members is gonna be, okay, I have Black Force members in my campaign. In addition to that, let's add our sample lead to the campaign, okay? So you don't, obviously you don't, you have to manually, select this option based on the current status of the member in the campaign. So as you can see, the more members we have in the campaign, the number increases. And we can even measure the performance of these members, which I'm going to show you shortly. So we have this campaign, okay? And we have these leads. When you have this lead, what can you do? You can convert this lead. If you click on convert lead, you have the opportunity to select the account or choose an existing account for the lead. In addition to that, you have the opportunity to select contact or choose an existing contact for the lead. And lastly, you will have the opportunity to create a new opportunity for the lead. Okay, so now that you've seen this, but there is more to this. How would you know if this lead is if this campaign that we created is influencing the lead? Okay, so you are measuring campaigns and the opportunities associated to the campaign and the lead. What do I mean by that? If I convert this lead right now, it will have what we call an opportunity. This opportunity is something you will associate to the campaign. I hope I'm not confusing you guys. This is Salesforce. Everything is somewhat linked together. What does that mean? It means that an opportunity is linked to a campaign. A campaign is linked to a lead. How do I know the influence of a particular campaign to an opportunity? I look at the leads and I look at the interaction of the leads on the campaign members. Okay, so let me break it down. Let me take a step back. A campaign, okay, as what they call the campaign members. The campaign members are the people that are associated to the marketing campaign efforts. When you have the people associated with marketing campaign efforts, which are the leads and contacts, then you can track their activities. What does it mean to track the activities? Tracking activities could simply mean they opened the email you sent out. They responded to the campaign email. That's tracking the activities of those members, right? And you can update the status of those members, okay? You can update the status by saying, okay, they've responded. And once you update that status, it reflects on the campaign. That is from the campaign relationship and the leads. But there is also what they call opportunities when you convert a lead. When you convert a lead, you have an opportunity. And that opportunity is associated to a campaign. So if the opportunity has a value of, let's say, $1 million and everything, and the opportunity becomes a close won opportunity, then you will be able to calculate the return on investment on the campaign based on the values you've put here. Okay, so this requires you to have some marketing know-how. It's not something that you just come up overnight. It's not really a Salesforce thing, but more of you understanding the data points required when we are talking about campaigns, and you knowing the relationship between the campaigns, opportunities, and leads. For you to track the campaigns, you need to have associated it to a lead. For you to find out the return on investment on the campaign, you need to have associated with an opportunity. So you cannot just have a blank opportunity on a campaign and expect to have a return on investment on that campaign. Okay, so let's edit this and I'll show you this. Where is the campaign? So can you see? There is primary campaign source. This primary campaign source is how you associate this opportunity to that campaign. In addition to that, there's what they call the campaign influence. The campaign influence is how you can track. Again, this is totally something you might never have to do if you're not really within the sales like core sales person. If you're not really a core sales person, setting up a core Salesforce sales cloud for a user or a business, you might never have to do this. However, for your knowledge sake, as well as for your certification, it is very important. The campaign influence is how the campaign influences tracks the influence of a campaign. So it tracks whether you are getting the expected revenue from a particular campaign as projected and all those kind of stuff. How do you enable the campaign influence? Edit, you click on enabled, okay? Once you enable the campaign influence, going back, campaign, you have this option comes up, auto association. What does that mean? It means that I can now say what number of days for this campaign to have an influence. So you can decide to say, I want a 21 days timeline. After 21 days, this campaign is no longer effective. So it's not calculating or is not associating to is no longer influential to my bottom line. Okay. So you're saying campaign influence time frame is 21 days. After 21 days, this campaign has no influence. Number two, what are the criteria? Why or what should you be looking at for this to be associated to the campaign influence? Okay. What are you looking at? The criteria you need to be looking at in the campaign for it to be associated, maybe like in the opportunity or whatever it is, for you to be associating this campaign influence. Okay. You can select expected revenue. You can select responded. You can select whatever it is, but let's just keep it to expected revenue. And you can say if the expected revenue in the campaign is greater than, let's say, 1,000. Okay. Then we know that we have an association in place and there's something going on behind the scene. So now, if you go back to this, you also have what they call the model settings. The model settings is what attributes are you looking for? What data model are you looking for to associate or to create a campaign influence? So what that means is that you can decide to say, okay, I don't want this kind of model to be associated. I want maybe a particular type of model, let's say records with 0% attribution or something like that, but that's not really, obviously, you need to know what attribution is for you to even start saying records with 0% attribution, greater than 0% attribution. But you can also create a new model. I just want to cancel this. A new attribution model and decide, okay, I want it to be locked, meaning that I don't want users to edit it whenever I've created this model. I want it to be active, and you can describe those influence model that you want. One of the interesting thing that happens when you have a campaign influence model turned on is if you go to your object settings, you'll be able to see the campaign influence model. Okay, you'll be able to see the campaign influence model. And if you go to your opportunities, you'll be able to see the campaign influence model. Okay, it's currently not coming up, but let me see campaign influence. So for you to have a campaign influence, you need to have a Sales Cloud license. Users, edit, by default, the admin do not have a Sales Cloud license. Okay, you need to create a permission set. Campaign influence. Okay, campaign influence, save. Then you have app permission. App permissions, you edit, and you go to campaign influence. And if you want to campaign, I just want to see what other stuff we have on campaign. Campaign import leads and update campaign history, although that's not really necessary, but let's just have it. And I save, okay? So now I have a campaign influence permission set. Then I need to assign it to the user. Okay, manage assignments, add assignments to this guy. Then done. But remember, for this guy to even be using campaign, he needs for this guy to be able to create a campaign, he needs to have what they call the marketing user feature license enabled for this guy. Okay, so now that we've added a campaign influence permission, let's go to do one more thing. We need to add permission set, edit, Sales Cloud. Okay, so we need to have a Sales Cloud and campaign influence. You can also add a CRM user, but Sales Cloud is sufficient because Sales Cloud and CRM user are almost equal in terms of the features that you can get. Okay, so I've added the Sales Cloud license, and I've added the opportunity, the permission set that enables the campaign influence for this particular user. So we should be able to see the campaign influence now. And if it's not there, you can just go back to the opportunity page layout, and you go to the related tab to see the campaign influence. Okay, so now we have the campaign influence, I believe. Okay, so as you can see, you've seen the campaign influence for this opportunity and how it is associated to the lead. Okay, you've seen the campaign members, and you've seen this is the campaign, okay? But you can track this campaign influence like this. You can see the influence 100%. That means for let me explain. Look at, if this close one, then the campaign is successful, sort of, meaning that this opportunity is influenced by this lead at 100% because only this lead is associated to that campaign. So if you have more lead to this opportunity, then the campaign influence the influence would kind of like reduce. Do you get what I mean? That means the lead does not have much influence compared to other leads. Maybe other leads would have more influence or would have less influence. So what determines the level of influence? How do you know if a particular lead would have an influence on a campaign? You know that based on the opportunity contact roles. The opportunity contact roles are the contact associated to the opportunity. Okay, look at this is advanced class, and I want you to kind of like understand the theory more before you start looking at the practical. The practical is what I'm already used to. However, the theory is for you to know that for me to have an influence on a campaign, I need to have a contact in an opportunity, and the contact needs to be a member of the campaign, which is the campaign member. The campaign members that we have will now be the one we're sending those emails to. And based on their responses, okay, you can send an email to the campaign. You can also schedule the emails. Let's say you want to schedule an email, schedule a campaign email. Oh yeah. Send later, okay? Send later, you can determine when you want to send that email. The bottom line is, once they respond to that campaign, you update. This is the manual side of the campaign. That's why they have what they call the Sales Marketing Cloud. The Sales Marketing Cloud would integrate with your campaign, and you don't have to manually update the status of whatever campaign you're sending out. This will be done automatically if you're using the Salesforce Marketing Cloud, but that's a different ballgame entirely. But for now, you can just be updating those responses on the members. Once you're updating it, you'll be able to see the statistics, okay? You'll be able to see the statistics, and you'll be able to Now, let's say you want to build a report. How would you build a report? You build a report by going to the report, but more importantly, you have to select the campaign, not just campaign with you select campaign with campaign members, and you have the opportunity to start seeing, okay, responded and the likes. Then you can build a report on how many people responded to this campaign. You build a report on whether they associate with the campaign or not. And obviously, you don't have to show all these columns. You can take them off. Okay? But remember, let's start from the basics. The basics is a lead coming to the system as a result of our web to lead form. And because of the process we have in place, when the lead is converted, it creates an opportunity, a contact, and an account. If the company is empty and a person account is enabled in the hub, the lead will be converted to a person account. When the lead has been converted, or before the lead gets converted, you could have created a campaign. If you had not created a campaign, then the lead is converted manually. However, if you created a campaign, you can track how the lead is being converted based on the lead process. Based on the lead process in the system. How do you create a lead process? The lead process is associated to a record type. A record type and a process is established. All the parts you see here during the lead creation, you can alter them. You can go to parts and alter the lead parts that you have in the system. If you have a custom part, you can alter the custom parts. But if you don't have a custom part, you can create a new part which will override the Salesforce default sales process. In addition to that, if you do not have the leads, the fields you're interested in, you can create them using the new fields on the leads. More importantly, there is what they call the lead mapping fields, meaning that if I have these fields and I convert this field to accounts and contacts, how would I know which of the lead fields are going into a particular field in the contact? You need to create the same field you've created on the lead objects. You will create that same field in the contact, and you will go to map lead fields. The map lead fields would help you to map the new fields you've created. If you had created a new custom field, that field will be mapped to the account fields. You go to the contact tabs, it will map to the contact fields. You go to the opportunity tab, it will map to the opportunity fields. But you need to have created the custom fields in the opportunity objects, in the contact object, and in the account objects. Okay? Remember, this is you thinking as a sales consultant, as a Salesforce sales consultant, meaning that you need to have an experience in all this stuff. You cannot just wake up overnight and know this stuff. You need to find out what are the fields I need to create. Salesforce asks us to know what they call the lead scoring. The lead scoring. What's the lead scoring? The lead scoring is a way you score a lead. For instance, if a lead comes into a system and the email is not present, which obviously is not a good thing, you create what they call a scoring method that enables you to find out the overall score of a lead. Okay, most of the things I'm supposed to, if I had to be creating them myself, we're going to spend the whole night doing this. But let me give you an example. You have what they call, let's say we have two fields. The first field is, I will say, this is a number, and I'll say total score. Okay, total score. Next. And I say, that's the total score. Then I can have another field that will be a formula. Then I'll say check email. Okay? Number. Then I just put an if-else statement. If email is no, I think is double equal. If email is no, value if true, 0. Value if false, 1. I don't. Let me see if that's the right syntax for checking of no. Yeah, that's the right syntax. Next. Next. Save, right? So now you have 2 fields, the check email and the total score. But the total score is a bit wrong. We need to make it a formula, okay? I can change the field type into formula. Can I change the field type to formula when I've created it? Can see total field, delete, create a new one, formula, number, total. Okay, so I can just say sum, right? Or not just sum, I can just insert that field. Okay, check email. Check email. I think we created check email, right? Check email, okay? So obviously you will have created another field, like almost 10 fields, okay? Next, save, right? So what exactly are we trying to do? When it comes to lead scoring are ways which you know the value of a lead. The value of a lead determines the quality of that lead. If, for instance, check email, where's check email? Let's refresh this. If check email is check email is 1, right? Total is 1. So now if email, what was the formula for check email? Check email we were checking equals no. Let me go back again. Check email. Check email. I'm using empty, okay? Refresh. Value if false. Just 1 minute. Maybe I need to switch this around. Value if true. Value if true. Oh, yeah. The formula needs to evaluate to true, okay? Just like your duplicate true. So I'm checking if this is empty, okay? But obviously there is more to the formula. The formula will not just be check email. It's going to be check email, check lead source, check rating. For instance, we can create another formula called check rating, okay? Check rating. Check rating. Then what are you going to call it? Number, right? Number. Rating. Insert. So if rating equals what? Okay. If rating equals alt 0, 1. Or rating is a pick list. So I think you have to put a test right in front of it because it's a pick list, right? Is it test in front of it or in the rating? Give me 1 minute. Let me check. Let's see this. I want to convert that rating to, I think it's double quote or something, but let me check. So basically, we're just checking the rating value, and based on the rating value, we add an extra score for. So this is what we want, okay? We want something like this. Okay, so let's look at this again. Before we look at it, let's increase our total to not just check email, but check rating, okay? So rating for this is ought, and email. This is funny. Just 1 minute. Rating is ought. Check email. Let me just take that off. It's 1. So I'm walking in the opposite direction. Check. So basically, if the rating is ought and the email is not is present, so it has to be the opposite of what I've just said. Okay. So right now the email is present and the rating is ought. So it's giving us 0. So if there is no email present and the rating is not ought, it's going to be adding to the score, right? 2. But obviously, this is not what we want. We want the opposite. Okay. Ought rating should be something and a good indicator that a lead will convert. If an email is present, is a good indicator that the lead will convert. Okay, so we need to reverse our formula. And in terms of our formula, we can just go back and just change it. Again, this is something you can just copy off the net, but you just need to know how to make that changes. Okay, so this should be 0 and this should be 1. Which obviously what I did before. I don't know why it was not working initially. Going back to edit, if so, if you look at what Salesforce says, it says if pick list contract is activated, then you do this. Otherwise, it is null. That means for pick list, it is the other way around. Okay, which is somewhat strange, but anyway, 1, 1, 0. Okay. Did I rating. Then we refresh this. Okay, so you probably don't want to be displaying this, right? You just want to be displaying the total. Or if you're very if you're very detailed, what typically you would do is to have check boxes. So you're going to create check boxes that says the contact, this lead is a manager. For instance, you can just create another checkbox that says a role. Okay, you can create a checkbox that say a checkbox that says is manager. It's manager, right? And because the lead is a manager, that means is likely to buy your product. Is a decision maker, right? If it's a decision maker, is likely to buy your product. Then in your details, in your lead, you can have where's the checkbox is manager. In your lead, you can have what I refer to as the lead score. If it's a manager, where is the manager? It's not coming to the page layouts. Let me check the page layout for the lead. Fields is manager. Yes, manager is present. It just needs to be a bit refreshed or something like that. But the bottom line is this. The lead score are the attributes you are looking out for to qualify this lead. Remember, for lead to be converted, they first of all need to be qualified, meaning that maybe they are responsive, maybe they reply your email, maybe whatever it is. But lead scoring is a process of evaluating the leads you have and giving them some attributes that calculates or that sum up to a value. And based on that value, you can now say this score is good, this score is low, this score is likely to buy, or this score is likely not to buy. You can do that based on whatever it is you've set in your organization. For instance, you can just do a lot of if-else logic that would help you to qualify that lead. This is like a manual way of doing this. There is what they call Einstein scoring. Einstein scoring is a permission set you have to add, or is a license you have to buy, and it can help you score a lead automatically. With Einstein scoring, you can qualify a lead without even having to do the manual process I just did. Like you can look for different attributes. This is an AI-driven way of doing things. It's just going to say, okay, industry is, as you can see, I wasn't very creative with my scoring. Salesforce already know what a potential customer would likely to be converted. The state and province is in Lagos, is in Toronto, is in California. Then this lead is good. Somewhere compared to, let's say, is in Alaska, for instance. Then maybe the lead is not good. Then you can say the lead source, annual revenue, all those kind of stuffs are ways which you can score a lead. Okay, so remember, lead scoring helps you to qualify a lead and the likelihood of that lead being converted positively. In addition to that, we have what they call the lead queue. When you're building your Salesforce, you might have a process. The process could just be dump all leads into a queue. How do you create a queue? The same way we have in cases. You can create a queue by going to queues and you create a new queue. But more importantly, the object would be lead. Okay? And you will be able to see the queue here once you've created that lead. But remember, these are just processes. Everything you've learned in your Salesforce, you bring it together with your sales know-how to create a Salesforce specific solution. Okay? Salesforce specific solution for your customer. Now let's go back to the requirement again. You have seen how campaigns support the sales process because the lead, the campaign member, the opportunities, the campaign influence, and how they are associated is how the campaign supports the sales process. Lead scoring and criteria for lead qualification. You define that criteria. You specify these are the criteria that the business should use to determine whether a lead is qualified or not. And now, when it comes to lead data quality, lead data quality in Salesforce is pretty much how you ensure that the data coming into your Salesforce is valid, is useful, is clean. Let me give you an example. Previously, we started with web to lead. And in our web to lead form, we grab all these fields and we generated the fields and the form. These are the fields which you feel the business needs in order to have a clean data. But what are the ways which you can ensure that the data coming into the systems is clean? First, you go to your lead objects and ensure that whenever you are creating leads, or I said leads, whenever you are creating fields, the first thing you want to make sure that is the fields are, the first thing you want to make sure that the fields are, for instance, required, unique. Those are ways you can ensure that the data coming into the system is good enough for your business. You want to ensure that the fields are required, unique. It's not all cases those fields need to be required or clean. It's not all cases, but if you know that email is an important field in your business, but the email, you cannot edit the email. You cannot edit it because this, you can edit it, but you cannot make it required, right? Because it's a standard field. Remember, standard fields are fields that comes with your Salesforce by default. You cannot edit those fields. However, what you can do is create a validation rule. Validation rules are used to ensure that the data coming into the system are clean, are accurate. You can use validation rules to find out if a particular scenario is valid. This condition is to express to true. If it is true, if email is blank, okay? If email is blank, then do not save the record. This is a validation rule to ensure that do not accept a blank value for a particular field. Okay? Do not accept a blank value for a particular field. Not just email, but maybe phone number, maybe account number, maybe expected revenue. These are ways. Remember, the first one is your basic required fields. Your basic required fields to ensure that the fields are required, unique. You don't need to collect 2 email addresses from a particular lead. Why would you want to collect a lead when an email address is already present in the system? To ensure that you do not have duplicates in the system, Salesforce has what they call the matching rule. The matching rules are rules which you create to look out for in a particular object. For instance, I do not want emails, or I do not want the first name and the last name to be the same in the system. You create what they call a matching rule. Check for the first name and the last name of a particular Salesforce records. Check first name and email. Anytime the first name is an exact match, and anytime the email is an exact match, then you have found a match. But more importantly, when you create a matching rule, you need to activate the matching rule. If you do not activate the matching rule, then the matching rule will not kick in. You need to activate immediately you create the matching rule. But matching rule is just one aspect of checking duplicates. For you to actually check the duplicates, you need to do what they call the duplicate rule. The duplicate rules is when you check for duplicates in the system. The matching rule is when you are checking what you are looking for. Business says, I do not want emails to be the same in the system, or I do not want a record with the same first name and last name in the system. Then I create a matching rule that checks for the first name and the last name. The duplicate rule complements the matching rule, meaning that you cannot have a duplicate rule without having a matching rule. It's dependent on the matching rule. The matching rule, which we created before, will now kick in. Check first name and email, which is a duplicate rule. But more importantly, what you want to do is you want to find out what should happen when there is a matching record. You want to either allow or block. You want to allow or block, depending on the business requirements. You can allow, however, you can tell them that, okay, I can see that there is potential duplicates. How should I continue? For instance, this guy, what's his name? Brenda. Okay, so Brenda already exists in the system, and this is Brenda email. So if I try to create a new lead right now, but make sure that you activate this, okay? For you to actually make sure it kicks in, you need to activate it. Before you can activate this, olajide matching rule must be active and have their field mapped, okay? So it's telling us that we need to have all active, the matching rule must be active, okay? Then we go and activate this, okay? So now we have previously created Brenda, and we know that check first name and last name is a matching rule criteria. I click on save, and it says, okay, company, that's fine. And it's going to say similar record exists. These are ways you can ensure data integrity. Data are clean. Data are coming into the right place or places in your hub. You've seen the duplicate rule. You've seen the matching rule. Again, what if these data are coming from a legacy system? If these data are coming from a legacy system, there is what they call the App Exchange. The App Exchange marketplace helps you to clean up data. If you have large volume of data and you cannot clean it up because these are legacy data, because you are not in charge, there's what they call data.com. Data.com is an app exchange. Let me see. Okay, so data.com would help you clean up data. It's something you have to purchase, okay? You will be able to find out which of the data are missing. Then it's going to connect to other Salesforce orgs, other Salesforce enterprises and stuff. And it will now link up those data and bring it to your own system such that the phone number will be valid, the email will be valid, and the likes. But remember, you cannot do this yourself. You have to buy an app in the App Exchange to do this. Okay? So this is ways for managing the lead data quality in Salesforce. Let's take a pause here for a minute, just to find out what we've learned so far. I've shown you some of the things you probably don't need to know. However, for your understanding, you need to have a comprehensive knowledge of the sales process. Sales process is everything you already know, but in an elaborate way. The lead process, you're familiar with that, but the campaign influence, maybe not. However, I've shown you that you can see how a lead influences a campaign, and you can find out the relationship. Okay? You can see how the opportunities and the campaigns are linked up, and you can find out how, whether a particular lead has 100% influence on a campaign or not. Remember, all these are part of the expectations. Okay? So let's take a pause here to find out if you have any questions on lead management, and we can quickly address them before we go into the next section. Okay? So I'll just call you according to how your hands are raised, but please make it snappy so we can move on. We have about 45 minutes left. Babs, can unmute yourself and speak, please.
Yeah, good evening, boss. How are you doing to everyone? Good evening.
Good.
So my question, again, opportunities and leads are something that, for whatever reason, they are not new to me, but I find that I kind of jungle them up, and I'm trying to see. I know I have to go back to this this class again and watch. But one question that I have that I'm trying to wrap my head around is, how do I explain leads and opportunity to my 8-year-old cousin?
That's a good question. So to your 8-year-old, well, yeah, because this is an advanced class, but to your 8-year-old cousin, leads are people you meet, the strangers you meet on the streets that are not yet your friends. Opportunities are, these are the strangers you meet on the street that are not yet your friend. Opportunities are what the stranger would be to you if they became your friend. That's all. Opportunities are what you see in that stranger that if they became your friend, it would be a good friend to you. Does that help you understand better?
Super. That's really taking me years, but I think I get it now. Thank you.
No worries. Is there another question before we move on? Matilda, unmute yourself and speak, please.
Yeah. Hi. There was a part where you showed when you were converting, I think, a lead, you had the option of choosing new or leveraging on the existing. Do you recall?
Yes.
Okay. So on the other hand, is it not supposed to be automatic? Why is there a manual intervention there?
It's automatic. If you click on convert, it's done.
So why do we need to select these options? Yeah.
So no. You have to select the option because Salesforce gives you the option. Let me tell you something. You can have the same leads in the system. You can have 3 leads that have the same first name and last name. Are you going to be creating the same contact information for 3 leads? No. You just choose that, this lead is just another lead that we already know. If people go to Blackforce website, anytime we have a new cohort, people always fill this form, regardless, even if they've subscribed before, even if they reserve a spot, they still come back again. So what should we do when we convert those leads? We should be creating new contact every time? No. We are just going to map them to an existing contact. Same with accounts. However, we can choose to say, okay, maybe opportunities could be different. Maybe we can even disable mapping to opportunity. You can do it if you do not want it. Okay. So remember, you don't necessarily have to be creating an account and contact, because leads could be duplicates in the system. If you've allowed duplication of leads, then obviously it makes sense for you to choose this without having to automatically convert them. My own opinion, but obviously Salesforce is even giving us the option. Why would we want to override this option itself? You get what I mean?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Another question, while associating a lead to campaigns, is it done like individual level? Or I'm just thinking, what if of a situation where we have a lot of leads, we need to associate them to campaigns? What's the best way to go about it?
You have the campaign, and you add leads. You can add leads and you can import leads. So you import this lead to the campaign. Do you get what I mean? So you add it is like a list of is like a bulk import, right? It's not like you're doing it one by one. You're doing it in a bulk format. So add leads with the S. Okay, you can now select all the leads. If you have a lot of leads, you can select all the leads and add them. Okay, and you can also import them into the campaign members. And you can use data loader as well. Okay, you don't have to do this from the interface. You can also use data loader. Okay.
Okay, and my last question, please. When you showed us the manual way of like using the lead scoring to creating validations and all. On the other hand, you kind of showed us the Einstein method. But is it really flexible? Or let's say Einstein says when a state or a province is Alaska, does it give us the option to set what we want for each score? Do we have that interface?
I've never used the Einstein before, but as you can see from the illustration, you can, I think you should be able to control the inference, but Einstein is A high, but you can control the parameters you're looking out for in your lead. You can control it with the Einstein, okay? I've never used it before, but I know there is a settings in the Einstein, and unfortunately, we don't have a license to demonstrate that, but I'm pretty sure if you have it enabled, you should be able to be, there's always a settings for it, okay? So please, it's not limited to what Salesforce thinks, but what you, the business, think about the particular lead. The only difference is you don't have to manually be calculating the formula. That's the only difference. You don't have to manually, okay, is manager check? Is this one check? Is this one check? You don't have to do that. It is automatically done, okay?
Cool, yeah. Thank you.
No worries. Any other question before we move on? Another question? Okay, let's move on. We're going to go into opportunity management, but you'll have seen that while giving you some examples of how to manage a lead, I touch base with opportunity, but let's go into it much deeper. Opportunities, what are they? They are opportunities just like the name describes. It's an opportunity for me. An opportunity for me means I could possibly sell this. When a new student comes to Blackforce, it's an opportunity for Blackforce, okay? Opportunity meaning that they could be a professional member, okay? Opportunities does not mean you're selling. Opportunities mean that it is an opportunity. I don't know if that makes sense to actually use opportunity in describing opportunity, but then again, opportunity is like a potential products you want to sell to a client. So how does this work? You have the products, you have the opportunity, but the opportunity has what they call the products. The products are the things you're selling in that opportunity, not the opportunity. The products are the things you are selling. Opportunity is just a platform, a process, a sales process. I want to sell Blackforce professional membership. An opportunity is me creating the process of selling that professional membership. But the professional membership is the products. Similarly to the lead process, we have the sales process for opportunity. Okay, we have the sales process for opportunity. If you look at opportunity, you have the sales opportunities. And if you look at process, you have the sales process for opportunity. You can create a new sales process and associate it to a record type. The same way you have the parts, you can manage these parts for the opportunity. What do I mean? You go to opportunity objects. You go to the fields and relationships, and you go to the stage. The stage is what changes during the process of selling. The process of selling is up to the business. It's not up to you. Salesforce recommends first thing you do is prospecting, finding out if this person, this lead, is actually a potential buyer. Or, yes, I've collected this information, but I need to qualify this lead. I need to find out if what I'm selling is actually what this lead needed at that moment. Qualification. You cannot sell Black Force Professional membership to a student in high school. Qualification. For you to qualify the leads, you need to just kind of like filter maybe yes or no. It's up to you. That's the business. Then you start carrying out what they call the needs analysis. Needs analysis. Tell me how to tell those people that this is a good thing for them. This is how good salespeople are. They give you needs analysis, then they go and present what value would you get from this product. This is a typical sales process. It's very comprehensive. Then you go to decision makers. But the bottom line here is this. This process is driven by the opportunity stages. What are the opportunity stages? They are the stages of selling that product in the opportunity. You can automatically say, whenever an opportunity is being created, I want the product to be created. I think there is a setting that you can put to ensure that. Opportunity, settings, then prompt user to add product to opportunity. When user add a product on opportunity, insert a quantity of 1. These are settings you can give your opportunity object such that the process becomes seamless. Anytime an opportunity is being created, you are being prompted. Also, maybe we have some process builder in place previously and stuff like that. So create account with, maybe there is a process builder in place. I can just disable that process builder. It has nothing to do with what we're doing, probably previous tasks or something we've done in the past. So I think this could be it, but let me just disable this. I don't know why it is, but deactivate. If it's not it, we just move on, but let's try again. Create account with sample variable process field. Give the Salesforce. Do we have flow in this? It's been a while I use this org, but let me just look for anything that could possibly be blocking our opportunity from creating. Okay. Okay. So now, how was I? I was in this thing, right? The idea was create an opportunity, and based on, let's create another opportunity. The ad product should automatically pop up when we create opportunities. And you can ensure that by going to opportunities and you select this option. Once you have it activated, then automatically when you create an opportunity, this will come up, okay? Now, as you can see, opportunities are just products you're selling. It's just a process that is different. Let's go back to the stages of opportunities. The stages can be reordered, and the stages are connected with probability. The reason why the stages are connected to probability is because the probability are used for forecasting. So let me take a step back. You have opportunity and you have stages of that opportunity. Those stages are connected to a probability. Why are they connected to probability? They're connected to probability because we need, sometimes business can ask us to forecast whether we are likely to close this opportunity or not. And you can also use AI as well. Again, Einstein comes into place. You have Einstein Insight, Einstein Opportunity Insight, Einstein Account Insight, Einstein Leads Insight. In fact, Einstein is very huge. There's a certification for Einstein. We're not going to go there. However, it comes with a forecast. What does that mean? It means that when I have an opportunity and I have an amount, there is what they call a stage. The stage you are in this opportunity will determine the probability of you selling the particular opportunity. If you go to here, if it's in prospecting, then you have 10% chance of selling the opportunity. If it is a need analysis, you have 20% chance of selling the opportunity. If it's a negotiation and review, that means the likelihood of you selling the opportunity becomes higher. You have 90% chance of selling the opportunity. What is the influence? What is the impact of this probability? The impact of this probability is the forecast, as well as the expected revenue. Depending on the stage, the expected revenue would increase or decrease, okay? It increases or decreases based on the probability. The probability, the stage influences the probability influences the expected revenue. And expected revenue is based on the amount, okay? So remember the key fields of an opportunity. The first is the expected revenue, the amount, the stage, the probability. They are influencing how this opportunity is being forecasted. Okay? Forecast is when we're going to go into forecast maybe tomorrow or by Wednesday, we're going to touch forecast. But forecast is when you can predict what is coming in to your business. What can we get this quarter? What can we get next quarter? That's forecasting. It's part of the sales process. Obviously, it's not called sales process, but it's part of the sales process. So remember, these key fields are very important when it comes to opportunities. In addition to that, when you have an opportunity, there's what they call the contact roles. Contact roles, remember, they are tied to the campaign. If I need to reach out to a particular contact regarding the opportunity, I can add that contact to the opportunity. Okay? I can look out for the contacts that are associated to that opportunity and I can reach out to them. For me to have it, if it's not present here, I can go to the layout and drag the contact roles in the related list. Okay, so the contact row is somewhere. If it's not present, you can just drag it here. Okay, but remember, the contact rows are the contacts for the particular opportunity. They are different from accounts, because when you create an opportunity, you have what they call the accounts associated to that opportunity. The account associated to that opportunity does not necessarily mean you can contact them. The contact associated to that account in the opportunity does not mean you can contact them. It's the contact role you can use to influence your campaign. And you've seen that the stage is very important because it determines this part. You can either make stage active or inactive. Okay? You can make the stage active or inactive by just deactivating the stage. And once you have a record type, you can now control the values for a particular type of the opportunity, okay? Considering if you go to opportunity, you have what they call the type. Not just that, you can control any pick list created in the opportunity object. Now, there is more to opportunity than just what I've just shown you. For you to actually sell an opportunity, you can have what they call an opportunity team. Opportunity teams are the teams responsible for selling this opportunity. That means you're not alone. Okay? When you are, opportunity team can be found on the related side of the opportunity page. Okay? When you're selling opportunity, you can collaborate with your colleagues. You can collaborate with your teammates, member of the sales team. In order to have the opportunity team, you would need to enable it or ask your Salesforce admin to enable that opportunity team. So to enable opportunity team, I'll go to Quick Find and go to opportunity team settings. The opportunity team settings, you click on enable team and save. Once you enable and save, you will be able to see your opportunity teams in your related section. Okay? And if you cannot see it there, you have to drag it to the related section. Now, this opportunity team, what is the importance of the opportunity team? Again, opportunity team is used to know the number of people associated to an opportunity team, just like the account team, where we're going to get to, where we get to account management. The opportunity team determines the number of teams responsible for selling the opportunity team. How do you get started? You have the opportunity team, you create a team role. You had a user and you give them access. Access meaning that they can edit the opportunity or they can only read the opportunity. It's up to you. You can say this is a manager, this is a user, and gives read access to the opportunity. That means you have one team member in the opportunity team. As you can see, you can edit this guy or you can add what they call default team. You need to be able to enable default team before you can add it. Okay, so let's see how to enable default team. Opportunity team. Default team. Go to the settings. Okay, this is the settings of the user that is logged in, not the settings from the setup. Advanced user, default opportunity team, hard, and you can look up any user of your chosen and say this guy is part of my opportunity team. And you can even put yourself there if you want. Give them the role. Okay, read right, read right. What does this mean? It means that this guy has created his own, this user has created his or her own opportunity team. Then, if this user creates an opportunity, this user can now add opportunity, a default opportunity team. Okay? And automatically, the default opportunity team and the role comes in here. Okay? This is opportunity team. What are they used for? They are used to give access to an opportunity, meaning that if I have an opportunity and I want to work with some of my colleagues at work, I can just add them to my opportunity team. And anytime I create an opportunity team, I just add a default opportunity team. And automatically, I've given them access to the opportunity team, and you can manage that access. You can not only manage, you can remove access if you want to, okay? But remember, this one is based on your default opportunity team, okay? So now, what is the beauty? What's the benefit of collaborating? What's the benefit of collaborating when it comes to opportunity? Collaboration is because you want to make money. How do you make money? You make money by splitting the reward of selling an opportunity. What are the rewards of selling opportunity? It could just be business designated or business design rewards. I want to make sure that this guy gets X amount for the opportunity they have just sold based on the amount of the opportunity, okay? So to get started with opportunity split, you type in opportunity and you go to opportunity team. Obviously, you already have that. Let me refresh this. Opportunity. Opportunity split settings would only come if you've enabled opportunity team. You cannot see opportunity split without enabling opportunity team. Okay? So now we have opportunity splits. I go to setup. There are two types of opportunity splits. The first type is the revenue split. The revenue split is based on the revenue of a particular field in the opportunity. For instance, if you have the amount, if you are going to reward a particular sales team or sales member 10% of the amount, then you will create a revenue split and you'll be using the amount field present in the opportunity. You'll be using the amount field present in the opportunity. In addition to that, the revenue split ensures that it is always 100%, meaning that if you want to split an opportunity, you cannot split based on 10, 20, 90 or 10, 50. The sum of the split needs to total 100%. Okay? That's why it's automatically checked for you. You cannot change this. That's the revenue split. However, there's another type called the overlay. The overlay is just another way to split opportunity. What does that mean? It means that if I want to split opportunity based on, I don't know, whatever it is, I can decide to say, okay, I want to have an overlay split such that X member would get 10%, another member would get 5%, another member can even get 140%, meaning that overlay split does not, the total percentage does not affect overlay split. That means overlay split can go over 100%. You don't control the percent, you can control the percentage, but it's not mandatory to have 100%, a total of 100% in an overlay split. Okay? It's not mandatory to have 100% in an overlay split. However, in revenue split, you definitely need to sum up to 100%. Let's see how it works. Refresh. The split comes up. As you can see, this is a split, and it is attributing 100% to this guy. However, you can say, edit, add someone else. If you try to add this guy as 90%, it's going to give you the value, but it's giving you a warning. Save. Split percentage must total 100% for an opportunity team. That means this guy needs to be 10%. Okay, 10, and you save. That's how revenue split works. Overlay does not care. I bring in this guy, I give it 10%, and I had another row. I bring this new guy, and I give it 150%, and I save. Can you see? Overlay does not mind if this is over 100% or even less. Okay? One thing you should also know is this. You cannot split an opportunity to someone that is not part of the team. So if I delete this guy from the opportunity team and I try to add this guy again, okay? This guy is not part of my opportunity team. I'll check if he's part of it. Let's go to the opportunity. Dixon generator. Okay, let me take this guy off. Yeah, you're already assigning to a split. So let me delete from a split for a start. Then you had, let's create another split, okay? I'm going to say 90% overlay, save, okay? Split per name was total 100% for revenue, overlay. Is this guy still a member? Other Balewa. Why is it still a member? I thought I deleted it. Okay, now we're faced with the previous problem. Let me view all. It's still there. Delete. Refresh. Okay, go back to the opportunity, go to the splits, and try to add that guy again, okay? Overlay, doesn't matter. Team member, okay? Meaning that this guy is not a member of the opportunity, hence you cannot split revenue with the guy, okay? You can only split revenue if the guy is a member of the opportunity, okay? So the key things from opportunity is very simple. Know who you can split with. You can split with a team member. You have the revenue, you have the overlay, and you can split percentage equally or total of 100% in an overlay, in a revenue, but in an overlay, it doesn't matter if it is less than 100% or more than 100%. In addition to that, you need to enable the 4 teams in your user settings. Okay? You need to enable the 4 teams in your user settings. And lastly, for you to even start working with opportunity teams and the overlay and the likes, you need to have it enabled in the settings, okay? That's pretty much about opportunity. We're gonna go into solution design, whereby we bring opportunities, products, price book, order, territory management, and the likes in our subsequent session. However, for opportunity, according to the requirement, you're supposed to summarize the relationship between the sales stages, focus, pipeline, inspection, as well as get how to support different sales process for an opportunity. Before we end this, let me show you the pipeline. The pipeline is, when we get to forecast, you will know more about pipeline. However, the pipeline is pretty much what we are, or the stage we are. The stage we are is the pipeline. If we are in prospecting, all opportunities present in prospecting is a pipeline for prospecting. If we are in negotiation review, all opportunities present in negotiation review is a pipeline. So the pipeline is pretty much the accumulation, the total number of opportunities in a particular stage. How many are we going to close today? How many are we likely to close? That's the sales pipeline. One of the most important things in the opportunity stage is this. When you create an opportunity stage, you have what they call the type: open, close won, or close lost. Meaning that an opportunity stage can either be open or close. An opportunity stage type can either be open or close. And when it is closed, it is either close won or close lost. More importantly is the forecast category. The forecast category determines where and how, if this is part of a pipeline. For instance, we talk about pipeline. By default, most of the stages are usually like, okay, pipeline. But there is also what they call omitted. Omitted is when you do not want this stage to be part of a forecast. Forecast is very important when it comes to sales. I want to know how much I'm likely to make in the next quarter. How can you find out? You find out using forecast. The forecast determines whether you are likely to make XYZ amount in the next quarter. If you categorize a particular stage as omitted, it means this forecast will not be used, this stage will not be used in prediction of the sales for next quarter. In addition to that, every forecast, every stage comes with a probability. The probability of that stage determines the forecast, right? Forecast is, as you can see, the probability of a particular stage determines the expected revenue. The probability determines the expected revenue, meaning that if we have a pipeline and probability is 90%, then expected revenue would increase. So if you do not want a stage to account for a particular forecast, you set it as omitted and probability as 0. You set it as omitted and probability as 0. Then this stage will not contribute to your forecast. Okay? Remember, all these are the relationship between the stages, the probability, the forecast, and the type of an opportunity. In addition to opportunities, you can view opportunities based on the list view. But more importantly, you can view opportunity using the Kanban. The Kanban helps you to visualize opportunity in a I wouldn't call it a creative. It helps you to quickly move around key deals. So you can play around key deals without going through a lengthy process. Remember, you can use a Kanban view to quickly move things around. As you can see the need analysis increasing automatically. And you can edit, you can create activities for an opportunity without moving from the screen. So these are productivity tools. productivity tools that helps you to quickly create a task on an opportunity without having to move away from the opportunity. Okay? You are quickly editing the opportunity, and you can do stuff with the opportunity. Remember, we have the Kanban view. We also have what they call the split view. The split view helps you to visualize the records immediately. The split view helps you visualize the record immediately without having to refresh the screen. So if you are using a normal table, you click on this, it changes, opens up the stuff. You have to go back in order to view another. However, the split view would help you do things without having to refresh the screen. The Kanban view also helps you to improve your productivity as a sales agent. Lastly, for productivity, the best to use is a sales console. The sales console is similar to what we've done, what we've done so far. The only difference is that you have the objects on the navigation map like this, and you can move around those objects without having to close the tab. So can you see the records you're opening is here, and you can see everything about this opportunity. In addition to that, you have what they call the history. The history just helps you to move to your recent tabs. You can have macros. You can have even your omni-channel in your console. Okay? This is an overview of the lead and opportunity management. I'm going to take a pause here to find out if you guys have any questions before we go to sample questions for tonight. Okay? Please raise your hand if you have any questions regarding what we've learned tonight, and I can quickly address them before we go into the sample question paper. Okay? Let me know if you have any questions, please. Haramat, you can unmute yourself and speak, please.
Yeah, okay. Sorry, the question I have is in person, using the person account scenario. So yeah, when converting a lead to an account, do you also create a contact in that instance? If the person is if the contact is a person account, sorry.
So if you have a lead and a person account is enabled in the system, for you to enable a person account, you need to have a record type, and you need to have sharing settings for the account and for the contact to be visible, right? So if you have a person account enabled in the system and you convert a lead, if the lead does not have a company, it automatically converts to a person account. Okay? But if there is a company present, it converts to a normal account. That's the only way to differentiate a person account and a normal account. Okay? You just leave the company name blank. Then it automatically creates a person account for you or not.
Yes, I understand. In that instance, would you also create a contact as well? I'm doubting no, because it's a personal account, but again, I'm not sure.
The lead is an object, right? Mm-hmm. It's going to create a person account, and that person account has the contact details. Do you get? So essentially, it has all the information you need from a contact point of view and from an account point of view. If you work with the Health Cloud or Vaccine Cloud, you realize that you would see the contact information, and it's still going to be linked to the account information, which is a person account.
Oh, okay, I get you. Okay, thank you.
No worries. Okay, so I think that's all for tonight. Thanks for your audience. We're going to go into the sample question shortly. But again, that's the expectation from Salesforce for us on lead and opportunity management. Okay, thanks everyone. Now let me stop this for a minute.